The European Union has infuriated the UK with its Brexit talks demands, this included its stance on the issue of fisheries. The tension over access to UK waters has remained a key issue since the very start of Brexit withdrawal negotiations. In March 2018, the EU published its draft negotiating objectives for a new post-Brexit partnership with the UK. But Brussels aced accusations of cherry-picking after demanding that Britain allow access to its fishing waters after Brexit while pledging to limit the ability of UK finance firms to operate on the continent. The six-page document warned Britain to expect negative economic consequences from Brexit, saying the new relationship would be complicated and costly and inevitably lead to frictions. But it raised eyebrows in London for demanding that the UK continue to allow access to European fishing fleets while apparently ruling out a bespoke deal for the City of London. Then-Chancellor, Philip Hammond, said it wasn't a surprise while implying it could just. He said, "It doesn't surprise me that their position is, we would like a great deal of the things that the British will be reluctant to concede and very little at all on offer of the things that the British will regard as most important." That is probably not a bad opening strategy for anyone engaged in a negotiation process, and I do think you have to see this as a negotiating strategy. Donald Tusk, President of the European Council, insisted that although he and other European governments did not want to build a wall between the EU and Britain, there would be barriers to trade after Brexit because Britain would leave the single market and customs union. He said, "This will be the first free trade agreement in history that loosens economic ties, instead of strengthening." Earlier this year, the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, set out similar red lines for trade talks with Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Ministers in Brussels said a deal between the UK and EU could only happen if Mr Johnson granted the bloc access to British waters. The EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier told a press conference after the talks that fishing rights must be included in the deal or there won't be any agreement at all. He insisted there must be robust, level playing field safeguards to avoid unfair competitive advantages. Mr Barnier added, "Let me remind you that most of the British processed fisheries products are traded, are exported, are sent to us, to the European market. So fisheries is part of a package as regards our trade relations, which are to be discussed, and that package is one you can't break up. There will be no ambiguity at all around that." The UK has remained